Hello, today is the 4th of March 2025. So this is part 2 of the videos I'm making today. The last one had a bit of an abrupt ending, but it was already long enough to be its own separate video. And I think it's easiest for me if I really just continue. Another situation where I created unhelpful thoughts was actually when I was calling with my friend Mario. We were talking about some sort of joke we had made a couple days before, and I said that I told this joke to Mom, and it was like a sexual joke or something, and so he was like, no, don't say that like to your mom, don't say things like that. So he was kind of a bit mad, I think, and I've never actually seen him like that before. And for me, it wasn't that big of a deal because me and my family, we joke about those things sometimes, and like for me it really was like pretty normal to tell my mom that. But because I think he made that joke, he felt uncomfortable, and I completely like understand. In his position, I probably would have felt the same way, and I'd be like, oh no, now the next time I face, Leona's mom, it'll be awkward and weird because she knows I made this joke. But yeah, when he kind of got mad or whatever, it didn't last long, but for me, immediately I told myself I did something wrong, or he is seeing me as, someone who just tells their parents all the secrets or everything we discuss together. I immediately, catastrophized, or was like, being down on myself and thinking like, oh, did I really do something wrong? Like, should I have known that I shouldn't say that? And I was then feeling like now I'm not allowed to tell my parents certain things anymore. Or I was also like then kind of mad at him that he reacted that way, instead of just, it's seeing that it's not so important and whatever. But yeah, I then was like, oh, seeing the potential of how him and I could argue. I was always like, oh, I like our relationship because we kind of discuss things. So if we're not feeling great, we just discuss that with each other. But this time, in that situation, I felt like, well, this was a sort of situation which had the potential to turn into an argument. So then I was like, oh no, I could, in the future end up arguing with him, and then we're not those sort of friends that I thought we were, and it could be really disappointing, and maybe he, isn't that friendly, or maybe I don't like him that much, or I don't know. Which was really stupid because he's a super friendly person. Everyone's allowed to react that way, but my thoughts were just saying like, maybe we could end up arguing really bad, and then I'd see him for who he is, or I don't know. It was like, I didn't like it. I saw the potential of us arguing, and I don't want that. I don't want us to argue. I want us to be able to talk about it properly. I don't want our relationship to end up like mine and my parents' relationship ended up in my depression, for example. I want us to be able to talk about it and so on. So I was beating myself up, and I was also mad at him then, and I didn't want to talk to him anymore. So I pretty quickly ended the call, and then had quite unhelpful thoughts for the rest of the evening, and when I went to bed, and the next morning as well. But yeah, there was also helpful thoughts that were like, I'm catastrophizing, it's okay, it doesn't mean I did something wrong, he doesn't know my family dynamic, but at the same time, yeah, I understand his side as well. I'd probably feel the same, and it doesn't mean we're gonna end up arguing, and even if we do, sometimes it happens, and there is still an answer that can be found, and both of us try to be nice people, and we both like each other, so we don't want to argue and so on. And I asked myself, okay, what can I do to help myself? And I did a few things, like talk to my sister Alana, or work on the Thrive program and so on, or watch a nice movie. Like, I did certain things that helped me, but the main thing that in my mind felt really nice was to just talk to him about it. Like, really just be open and honest and just talk to him, and he's allowed to say his open and honest opinion back to me as well. I just want us to communicate about these things and not have our friendship built up on pretense, and also not be just mad at each other and then forget about it. Like I'd like to just talk about it. And because I was creating a lot of unhelpful thoughts and I was like, oh, this is my fault and I shouldn't have done that and blah blah blah, you know, I was just like, okay, I want to say something. So I basically the next morning just sent him a voicemail, like apologizing and explaining to him that these things are normal in my family, and then explaining to him as well why I often explain my side, or why I often seem like I'm defending myself, and I probably am defending myself. There's many reasons for that. The main reason is that I'm, you know, scared people are gonna see me as a bad person or someone they can trust, and I really want him to be able to trust me and know that he can trust me. So I was really scared that basically he lost his trust in me. I started really defending myself in my depression when my dad basically always told me what I was doing wrong and what I should change and what he doesn't like about me. That's when I started defending myself, because I was like, he's never actually seeing my real intention. He's never seeing what I'm actually going through and why I might be doing these things. He's not accepting me for me, and I then saw how he's seeing me as such a horrible person, and I didn't want that. I already had self-esteem issues all the time. As you may know, I built up from a very early age this uncomfortable feeling, this control issue, because I always wanted to be perfect, especially for my parents. I had very high standards put up for myself, because I believed otherwise I'm not good enough, or otherwise my parents won't love me. I'll be locked into my room and just left alone, basically. I'll be punished or whatever. So, but basically he wrote me a very long text back, and he just said from his side that it's just a bit awkward and embarrassing for him, so maybe I could leave out certain things that I tell my parents or whatever, but that he appreciates my words very much, and he likes that we're, you know, talking about it, that basically I don't need to worry and it's fine, and he's not mad at me anymore. And yeah, I completely understood that, because I would feel the same in his position. So yeah, that was really nice, and that really helped me, honestly, to talk to him and to do that for myself. So in the past few days, this is still what I'm struggling with. Like everything I told in my last video and here, well, not really here, I guess, more in my last video, everything I told, I'm still struggling with that. Still, yeah, like hard on myself, still like, am I really turning into someone I don't want to be, or I never wanted to be? And I'm worrying about that, I guess, because I'm scared that, I don't know, I'll just suddenly be someone I don't want to be, or I'm even scared that it's in my control and that I'll choose to turn into someone that, for example, a couple of years ago or even now, I don't want to be, so that in the future, for example, I'll do things that nowadays I wouldn't never have wanted myself to do. At the same time, I need to see, is that really such a big deal? Like removing facial hair, for example, like, is that really such a big deal? You know, getting Botox is something else, but I don't know. I'm just scared I am going to choose to, for example, get Botox and do these things and see that they aren't actually that big of a deal. Like, you can just do that, because then I'll actually be someone that I never wanted to be a couple years ago. That's why I built up the control, so that I wouldn't choose to do those things, so that I'd always be myself and learn to love myself instead of having to change myself in order to love myself. Like, I don't want to do that, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm already doubting, like, maybe it isn't that big of a deal, but I don't want myself to think, oh, it's all fine, you can just get Botox and it's fine. Like, I don't want to think that way. It's like, yeah, why do I not want to think that way? Because then I believe I'm going to be someone that I never wanted to be, or someone I don't recognize. Or I'll change myself completely just so I feel like I fit in, or just so I feel like I can accept myself. Like, are those beliefs helpful? I guess in a certain way, yeah. In another way, no, because I really restrict myself and I really put so much pressure on myself. You know, I wasn't even able to wear the clothes that I wanted. I always wore baggy clothes so no one could see my body. But I'd actually really like to wear nice clothes and wear clothes that are tighter on me as well, because I think it looks beautiful. Like, I actually want that. And I always have, honestly. Like, I always wanted to wear nice clothes, but I never felt like I was allowed to. But what I never wanted to do actually was to remove my facial hair, because I was like, no, that's giving into insecurities instead of learning how to deal with them. So now that I've done that, I'm like, okay, I gave into an insecurity. I'm someone that I would have hated and really put down in the past. Like, if I knew I did that myself, that would have been horrible, because I was really judging myself. I was like, no, you're only good enough if you don't do that, if you're able. I don't know, like, this is a really black and white way of thinking, but I don't want to be turning into someone that I don't want to be, or I never wanted to be. I want to love myself. I want to be the person I always wanted to be. And yeah, it's all in my control. I choose what I do. But that's what, like, I'm scared of. I'm scared of that I'll choose, you know, things that where I won't recognize myself anymore. I don't know. And that's why I kind of felt like giving up on the Thrive program, because I'm like, no, it's changing me. And now, you know, I'm doing certain things I wouldn't have done in the past. And in certain areas, it's really good. I love how I'm changing, I'm growing more confident. But in other areas, I'm like, I don't know if that's good. That now I removed my facial hair because I was kind of insecure about that. I don't know if that's good. At the same time, it's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, for example, the good changes I've made, for example, is I was driving a lot in the last while, because I was insured for the time that mom was in Spain with dad for like 10 days. So I drove me and my siblings around, and I was quite confident in the car, and I actually really enjoyed driving, and I didn't create many unhelpful thoughts. There was some that were like, you know, things could happen, maybe we shouldn't drive. Yeah, and there was some thoughts that beat me up then as well. And they were like, no, you were too fast, you shouldn't drive that fast, and so on. Other than that, I created many helpful thoughts that were like, great, you drove very well, you were careful, you were aware, you, in certain situations that were out of your control, like when the truck was on your side, you did what you were able to do in that situation, which was to go as much to the other side as you could and to slow down a lot. Like, you did the best that you could in that situation, and the truck being on your side wasn't in your control. But I was blaming myself because I was like, no, I went around the corner too fast. If I would have gone slower, I would have seen the truck more, and I wouldn't have needed to go down or go on the brake that much. But at the same time, it was like, I didn't like speed around the corner. I was still in the speed limit. I still could see the road. Yeah. And then I was so proud of myself when we collected my parents from the airport. So me and Amy, I had to drop off at her driving lesson. And then I basically went shopping alone, fully by myself, which I don't think I ever did before, go shopping fully by myself. And I was so calm in the shopping center. Like, I was really relaxed. I didn't care about people looking at me or not. Like, I was kind of aware, like, there could be people looking at me, but I didn't give another thought to it. Like, I just did my own thing. I was really calm and relaxed, and at the till, I did everything. I managed it. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't constantly thinking, okay, how will I pay? How will I do this? What if I do something wrong? What if that's embarrassing? And blah, blah, blah. All totally fine. And then I drove to the airport, which was like 5 minutes away from the shopping center. I collected my parents and I drove with them for a while to collect Amy then as well, and I noticed how I was actually a really good driver and I was doing everything very well. And even if I didn't do everything perfectly doesn't mean I'm not a good driver, even though I did everything very well in that situation and I was very calm in the car and I was aware of what I was doing. And I was just so proud of myself that I did all of that by myself. And even last Saturday, me and my siblings, we alone, the three of us, went into a city near us, and I've never driven in like a bigger city. Like, I don't know, it's not like a city like in other countries, but for Ireland it's a city, and I never drove into a city before, and I was like not anxious though. Like, there was very, very little thoughts that were like, will I be able to manage it? Will it be okay? But I was like, I want to do this. I'm able to do this. I've been driving the last couple of days very well, and I feel confident enough to do it, which a couple of weeks ago still, I would have been like, I don't know if I want to. But I kept processing the way I was driving in the past few days, kept processing and seeing I'm able to drive, I'm able to do it, and I'm confident and so on. And then being like, yeah, I can manage it in a big city as well. I'll just be aware of what I'm doing. I'll stay calm. I'll drive slow in a speed that I'm comfortable with. And everything went really well. And we had such a good time alone in that city as well. We went for something to eat. We went to different shops. Amy and Alana got piercings, new piercings, for example. And I talked to the people that worked there in the shop. I asked them about the piercings and so on. So I was like confident, and I did it. Like, it was so amazing, like so proud of myself. And even though I kept then coming back to these unhelpful thoughts that I had the past few days, I still, I'm getting better. It feels better than it did on Friday, for example, where I had my call with the coach. It kind of all felt lost and, like, no, this is all really bad and out of my control, and I felt really down about myself. And I wanted a hug from my mom though, and I went to her and just asked for a hug, and it was so nice, and I just started crying. And then I noticed how I was actually thinking about thriving in a very perfectionism way, and that was the unhelpful thing about it. I was like, I'm only gonna be thriving if I'm like perfect, if I fully accept myself the way I am, if I never change anything about myself, never give in to any insecurities. I was like, that's when I can thrive, if I fully accept myself and never change myself. But I was like, that's an extreme perfectionist way of thinking about it. And then I remembered thriving is not about being perfect. Thriving is not about that. And then I cried some tears of relief, and I actually felt so much better because I wasn't pressurizing myself to be perfect because that's the only way you can thrive then. No, I can thrive and be happy and joyful with my imperfect sides as well. And I can, be on my own team. I can have different opinions to other people. I don't need to agree with everyone. And yesterday, honestly, was quite a good day, even though at the end of the day I was like, oh, I don't feel great. But then I processed things that happened during the day and things that I did, and I was like, it was actually a really good day. So what the hell am I even saying? So I was obviously looking at the day through shit-tinted lenses, through certain thoughts I had in that very moment yesterday evening. But then when I processed the day, I actually then ended up waking up the next morning and actually being in an okay mood, whereas the days before that I woke up with, quite negative thoughts in my head as well, which I obviously created. And I was like, okay, what sort of day do I want? I can change all these thoughts. It's, thoughts don't happen to me, it's because of my own beliefs, so let's challenge the beliefs. What sort of day do I want to create? I can change it all around. I can turn around the day and have a fabulous time. Yesterday, for example, I edited one of my videos from the 2nd of January this year. I edited that video, and I was actually quite proud of that video. I actually liked the way I was speaking and thinking about things, and I actually really enjoyed watching that video. It actually really helped me to see, look, I was actually doing quite well, and look at all the changes I'm making and the way I'm challenging my thoughts and working on myself. And the fact that also that I was also doubting if I'm getting better or not. Like I said in my other video, the first half, I was doubting if I'm getting better or if I'm just, covering up the feelings of sadness. And there's this website from the Thrive program where you find evidence for your beliefs. So my new belief was like, okay, I'm getting better. And then I had to find evidence of, what changes have I been making? How am I getting better? Like, what am I, all those sort of things. And then it helped me realize I really am getting better. I really am changing. Even if I do certain things to try and help with the sadness I may be feeling, I'm still dealing with the sadness. I'm not ignoring it. And also the sadness is only there because of my thoughts, because I'm thinking like, oh, I might just be covering up something. Oh, maybe I'm not getting better. That's what's creating the sadness. So yeah. And then yesterday, because obviously in the past few days I've been creating these unhelpful thoughts, yesterday I watched an interview from a couple of years ago that my coach did with the creator of the program, Rob Kelly. And that interview was incredibly good. Like, I could relate so much with my coach, and they were talking about her journey from being an emetophobe and an alcoholic to being neither and thriving and having an amazing life. And she did so many things that I am doing now, for example, and that's what kept her stuck. That's what didn't help her to thrive. Also, it helped me to reflect back on my depression, where, for example, my mom was my significant other, and it was actually a quite collusive relationship, so it was helping me to maintain my beliefs and whatever I had, I don't know, OCD or the uncomfortable feeling. I don't really know what that is. Like, I haven't been diagnosed with anything, but it's very much like emetophobia and OCD. Like, it almost has, or maybe even does have, all the same thought patterns. Basically, her significant other was also her mom, and it helped her immensely when she cut down on the contact with her mom, because any time her mom said something to her or made any sort of comments, that's when my coach would fall into a blip and create a blip, because she would be like, yeah, my mom is right, maybe I'm not getting better, or maybe it's everything is my fault and whatever. So in my depression, I remember how I noticed that mine and mom's relationship was very unhelpful currently, because I felt misunderstood by her. She was always blaming me or trying to be there for me, but then felt like she wasn't being good enough, or she was blaming herself. And I don't know, I felt very alone and misunderstood and felt like she was always blaming me. So for me, I was like, the best thing we could do is just break apart for now, or just stop for now. And I remember going to her and saying, I'm not going to talk to you anymore now about these deep things that are bothering me until you're able to accept me. Like, that was basically what I said. I then felt extremely guilty, because after that, mom came into my room and blamed me about what a horrible person I am. And that was honestly such a traumatic moment, because I was lying on the mattress and I was like, I'm going to die. Like, I remember the intense pain I felt inside my body. Like, my entire body was shriveled up and tensed up, and I was crying and sobbing and begging her to stop, but she kept throwing these things at me, being like, everything is your fault, you don't see what we're doing for you, and you're the reason why this family is falling apart, and you don't see what a horrible person you've become, and blah blah blah, like all of that, and you're depressed, you don't see the world properly anymore, all those things. And I immediately believed her, because she was my significant other. which was very unhelpful because I'm allowed to have my own beliefs. I'm allowed to be on my own side, my own team. And I literally felt like, I literally thought I was about to die. Like, I promise you that is what I thought. I was like, I'm not gonna survive this. And in the end, I didn't even want to live anymore. I shouted at her, begging, like, please give me a knife and I will die. So I was like ready to go. And that's how freaking unhelpful our relationship was. The thing that I did was actually the right way to go. But I only see that now because Mom came into my room afterwards and was like, how dare you do this to me? How could you do this to me after everything I've done for you, and so on. But after the video I watched yesterday, it was actually like, that was something that could have actually helped us. It's not like I was leaving her and not grateful for what she did, but yeah, and for years then afterwards, I kept doubting if that was the right thing for me to do. And I was like, oh my God, I was such a horrible person there. And how could I do that to my mother, and so on. But I was trying to help myself, really. I was trying to escape the continuous cycle of blame and torture and not getting better. Like, it wasn't getting better. So I was actually trying to help myself there, and I could have actually really helped myself with that, because what my coach was explaining in that interview was exactly what was going on with me and Mom. And it's not helpful to have a significant other who might really want to just help you and genuinely be there for you, but someone who's constantly reinforcing your beliefs that you are alone and nothing is helping. And that's what she was constantly doing without doing it on purpose. Like, I know she always wanted to be there for me, but we were just too close that no matter what she said, I believed it immediately. And I immediately wanted to live up to that expectation she had, or whatever she believed. I wanted to be that version. So it wasn't helpful at all. And it's not like you have to cut them out of your life completely, but just see to what extent is it helpful? To what extent is it actually helping you and bringing you further? And when is it helpful to go to your significant other and ask for help? When is it helpful, to be with them? So yeah, that helped me immensely to regain perspective yesterday on, these problems and stuff. And I'm still working on it, and I'm constantly regaining perspective, and I feel stronger in between. Then other times I'm kind of down on myself again. But yeah, it's like, I know what will happen when I fall into blip. All that will happen is I'll feel really shitty about myself. I'll beat myself up. I'll cry and feel down and feel hopeless. And then getting out of a blip again is always the same. Being kind to myself again, regaining perspective, seeing things are not hopeless, so don't even fall into blip in the first place, because you're always going to come out of it the same way. So jump to the end right away. Don't even go into blip, because all that you do is lose perspective and feel hopeless and not find a way out. And then, getting back out of it is always the same. So why not jump to that right away? Regain perspective on whatever you're thinking about it before you fall into blip. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Trust that you are powerful. Like, see how powerful you are. Find the proof for that. See what choices you do have, where your power lies, and so on. So yeah, and I've been obviously still listening to music as well when I'm going for showers, for example, or sometimes in between during the day. Yesterday I was cuddling with that Kayla, and I had some music on in the background, and I really enjoyed it. And I love watching Lock and Key with my family, for example, at the moment, a show. For example, 2 days ago I watched the kids movie Zoomania, because it was such a feel-good movie, and it helped me to just relax, be gentle to myself, not constantly be like, oh my God, I need to figure this out, or it's all so bad, or whatever. So it's like, what can you do to help yourself right now? And also, these thoughts aren't new. I've been living with them my whole life. These are beliefs I had my whole life. So it's not like something is gonna happen with them that I never experienced before. Like, I had these beliefs before. They created the uncomfortable feeling. They were horrible. They were actually unhelpful for me. I'll figure it out. I'll get out of it again, like every blip. When you're having a good time, why is it? It's because you're not focusing on and brooding about the things that are unhelpful, the things that are negative in your life. You're just having a good time because you're focused on the good time. You're creating positive feelings and thoughts. So that's that. That's the update. It's not like I'm fully out of the blip yet or whatever. I haven't fully found a solution yet, but this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on currently. This is how I'm currently doing. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm doing really bad. There's moments where I feel like, oh God, everything's lost and, you know, I'm doing really bad. But everyone has those blips, and it's me who's creating it because I'm believing that. So challenge the beliefs, find proof for the opposite of what the belief is, and you'll see, you know, it's not all that bad and hopeless. There's an answer to everything, and I'm really proud of myself for so many things I've done in the past few days and achieved, and how much I changed for the better, and I really love myself. And then there's other ways that I'm like, am I changing for the better in certain areas? Is that okay for me to do or whatever? But yeah, I'll figure it out. And the fact is, like, my beliefs are creating these certain emotions and, you know, these thoughts, and yeah, so that can all be changed, and I can be the person I always wanted to be. Like, I don't know, it's my choice, but yeah, I don't want to be, you know, strict on myself and force myself to be a certain person because I shouldn't be that. But then of course I don't want to be someone I don't want to be. So like, I don't know, I need to see where the balance is and what's going on there. But yeah, and something I also asked myself in the past few days is like, you know, my life only feels shitty and down when I think about it that way. And then I was like, okay, if I didn't have these thoughts in my head, for example, or, you know, how else can my world be seen? And I was like, honestly, my world is beautiful, and my life is beautiful, and I could be seeing this in such a lovely, amazing, wonderful way, and I could be enjoying it so much. And I loved feeling that potential, that like, my life doesn't need to change. It's not my life that is horrible or wrong. It's my thoughts about it that make it feel horrible. You know, it's not my life. It can be seen as wonderful. Nothing about it needs to change for it to be wonderful. It's my thoughts about it. So I loved feeling that potential of like, and seeing how my world is actually really beautiful. My life is actually really beautiful. And I have so much potential as well. So, and again, like, I'm giving importance to these thoughts. I'm making them a problem, basically. Whereas I always had these beliefs, but often they're just not in my head. I'm not focusing on them. So I feel free. I feel light. I feel like I'm in control of my life. I feel good. Even though nothing changed, it's just I'm not focusing on those thoughts. I'm not believing them so much. Yeah, I'll learn how to deal with them and to feel powerful in a good way and figure it out. This has been a long journey since I was like 7 or 8. When did that really kick in, that control issue thingy? Probably earlier, but I don't remember. Anyway, let's keep going on this journey. Sometimes it's so wonderful and other times it's so shit, and that's a black and white way of thinking it. And a lot of the time it's like, okay, and that's okay, and we'll figure it out, and thriving is possible, and I'll figure it out, and I'll be able to thrive, and at some point I'll reach it, you know. I'm not gonna give up. It's the choice I always have. Okay, take care, and until the next time.